Yes.
Not because I suffer fast, not because I pray and fast. No be your show, no be jazz. I'm watching. Daily Osinachi, Namukwa, Osinachi. One name, Osinachi. I'm watching. Daily Osinachi, Mama, Osinachi. suffer fast. Not because I pray and fast. No be your show, no be that. I'm watching. Daily, Osinachi. I'm no qua, Osinachi. One name, Osinachi. I'm watching. Daily, Osinachi.
All right, so it's almost been about 5 minutes and we're waiting on the other two participants, but we can go ahead and get started and we can come back to them when they join us. Okay, so I am very pleased to meet you all. I am glad to be here today. I'm always very interested in discussing women and gender studies. So I'm really looking forward to hearing your presentations and looking forward to having a great dialogue on your research today. So first off, I want to just give a little bit of a introduction, to our panelists today. So in order of our presentations, first we have Iziengbe Ebuka Onua, who is a scholar of the history of Benin women. And her focus is on sexuality, the sexuality of religion, and the history of international prostitution in Benin. And then we have Reverend Igwe, who is a PhD student, and she also holds a Master of Arts degree in the sociology of religion and a Bachelor of Arts degree in religious and cultural studies, both from the University of Uyo, Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. And following her, we'll have Ms. Aneke, who is also a graduate student of the University of Nigeria in Nsukka. She holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in History and International Studies and English and Literary Studies. She has double honors from the University of Nigeria in Nsukka. And then we will have Okafor Sochima, who is a final year student of history, congratulations, of history and international studies at the University of Nigeria in Nsukka. And last but not least, we have Mubarak Tokor, who is a PhD student at Makerere University in Kampala, Uganda, in the Department of History, Archaeology, and Heritage Studies. His teaching interests include peace building, peace and conflict resolutions, war and peace, and also gendered peace studies, social movements, African history, the history of East and Central Africa, as well as the history of modern Nigeria and Middle East studies. So we have some distinguished guests on our panel today, and I'd like to go ahead and get started. Each guest will have 12 minutes to present, and then we'll have ample time at the end of the hour for any questions or any conversations and comments from any of our viewers. So we'd like to start with the first panelist, Iziengbe Ebuka Onua. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Hi. My name is Iziengbe Pat Ebuka Onua, and this evening I'm going to be talking on religion and international prostitution in Benin. It's actually a paper in progress. We are still on it. So I'm in the LSA retreat, and it's the paper I'm using there. So there's a whole lot of work on it. So I don't want to use the PowerPoint, so I'll just speak to the paper. Actually, international prostitution had become a very big business in Benin from the 1980s, which is the period I took, 1980 to 2018. I took those periods for a very important issue because of the religious issue that follows those period. First and foremost, from the late 1980 to early 90s, you find out that there was a rise of Pentecostalism in Benin and strong root of our African traditional religion. So, and the 2018 I took also has a historical background because that was the year the Oba of Benin laid courses on traffickers who take Benin girls to Italy for international prostitution. So international prostitution had become a settled business in Benin that, in fact, Benin was formerly, it is regarded as one of the largest lived and the longest lived kingdom in the whole of West African forest region. It was the oldest kingdom, and its beauty was its artistic triumph. That was what people knew about Benin for a very long time. But of recent, the story changed as Benin became global name for international prostitution, trafficking, for sexual exploitation. So a whole lot of people have written several issues on trafficking, prostitution in Benin and all that. That Benin, in fact, the main mention of Benin now rings the bell, prostitution. So Benin is, if you are talking about Nigeria. No, Benin City, okay. Benin City is actually the south, the part of south region of Edo State. So I'm talking about Benin in Nigeria, not the ancient Benin kingdom. That's why I was describing the kingdom of what it was and everything, what has been in Benin and what has been happening in Benin in the past, its artistic triumph and all that. So as a result of this, 80% of international prostitutes from Nigeria, 80% of them are of Benin origin. So this now drew both international organizations to Benin and made Benin to have a focus on in fact, the government, everybody paying attention to Benin. So a whole lot of researchers had come to Benin to look at the reason for girls doing this and what has kept girls in bondage. And they look at, you find out that when you are dealing with religion and prostitution in Benin or religion and trafficking in Benin, there is a focus on the issue of oath taking. Oath taking, the oath taking is the reason they are here. They're taking oath at home. That is what has kept them on the street in Italy, in Spain, and different European countries. So there is a focus on the oath taking, not knowing that the issue of prostitution in Benin is bigger than just the oath-taking process in the religious aspect. Every religious organization in Benin is part of the prostitution issue. And I'm mentioning names that the Christian religious sect, that is Christianity, particularly Pentecostal group, and the African traditional churches, like the Select churches, the Cherubim and Seraphim, they are all part of this process. So my work actually focus on the Pentecostal way of preparing girls to send them to Italy, the prayers, the prophecy, the guidance through the churches, then on the Select aspect, and after that, that's the African traditional churches in Benin. Then the second focus of my work is on the African traditional religion, the way they prepare and give girls the same strength, charm to walk on the street of Italy. Because you see a Benin girl half naked in cold in Italy, and you wonder how she's able to stand there. It is not ordinary. She has been worked on at home before she go to Italy. And even when she's in Italy, we still work for them. You have to work for them to be able to stay, for her to know that this man that is coming to her right now is a dangerous man. She has to work with the charms that will tell her that leave the street, the police is coming right now. There is something in her body that will talk to her. So these aspects, if you are not a Benin person, you do not understand that these preparations are there and these processes are there. Being a Benin girl, I'm able to understand these things, and I've gathered data on the street, and that is what I'm here to present. So let me quickly look at the Pentecostalism. I use in my work, I use some short life histories of young girls who got into Italy, into Europe as a result of prophecies from pastors. For example, you get to a Pentecostal church in Benin on a Wednesday and they are doing prayer. You will see the man of God shouting and asking and telling people to quickly run out because their visa will soon be ready. Their visa will soon be ready. That your daughter that is about to cross, we cross and will not die in the sea. You know, you see, you hear things like that. So at first, you would think that the Pentecostal church will preach against this thing, knowing that the girls that move from Benin to Italy, they go there for nothing but international prostitution. But you find out that this is absolutely no. They are all from home, that they were seeing them in the midst of white people and get. And hope you can hear me. Can you hear me? Because they're saying the internet is not good. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you now.
I'm glad that you are can hear me. So at the end of the day, you that a whole lot of girls went through the Libya-Morocco route, crossing the Red Sea with the belief that Olokun worship in Benin, which is the worship of the river goddess, the sea god, will help them cross the sea without getting drowned. That is the aspect of the African traditional aspect. Then the let people also take the girls to the river, to different places, to prepare them, plead with the river goddess, the river god, to help them to cross the sea. That's for those that are crossing the sea. Then those that are using passport that belong to their sisters abroad to pass through the immigration, for the immigration not to know what they are going to go through and all that. These girls had to be baited on different forms of charms that when they get to the immigration will not know the difference between the faces on the passport and all that. So this process of preparation, even before you are picked as a girl that you are going to Italy, your sponsor will first go and check your destiny in the hand of an African traditionalist or a pastor or a prophet to see if you get to Italy, whether you will be able to pay your fee, whether you will make money and all that. So these different religious aspects that entangles and that surrounds the international prostitution in Benin has just been, some have been mentioned, and severally there have been so much focus on the rituals. Oh, they take oath of rituals. I'm not talking about the first and foremost, the preparation of the girls. Then when they get to Italy, the sustenance on the business, it's all tied around business, around the religious belief of the people, because a Benin person believes that everything that happens to you is controlled by the supernatural, and that is why for them everything they have to go through the supernatural process. So these are the stuff that I've gathered in the field concerning this particular work, and I intend to expand it and draw a conclusion from this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was really interesting. I really haven't heard too much about some of the intersections between religion and the institution of prostitution, especially taking, young girls abroad. So that's some really interesting research that you're doing, and I'm pretty sure that our other guests will also have some questions coming up. So thank you for presenting your research to us. So next, who do we have? Oh, Reverend Igwe, I don't think that she's here. So Miss Eneke, it is your turn.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening. We can hear you.
All right. I'll be talking on women and land ownership in Amokwe, Udi of Enugu State, Nigeria. And then on my paper, I'll be examining the discriminatory cultural practices on women concerning lands in Amokwe, Udi. As we all know, in Igbo land, women has been marginalized from time beginning till now, although these cultural practices hasn't been eliminated. Coupled with the move for feminist philosophy and emancipation of women and empowerment, little or nothing has been done concerning land ownership and female inheritance in Amokwe, Udi. And on this, I'll be talking about land and how women, most especially the married ones, unmarried and then daughters, are being treated in Amokwe. But before that, I'll begin by talking a little about the Amokwe people of Udi, Enugu State, Nigeria. Amokwe people are, particularly known for their unique tradition. Everyone from Igbo land, most especially the eastern part of Nigeria, knows that they are very good when it comes with delicacies, the abacha, and their palm wine. And apart from that, there is something about Amokwe tradition, which is non-rigid custom that actually allows married women to cheat without being cautioned or face any challenges. But when it comes to land, these women are being marginalized in the sense that you allow a woman, even though she's married, she could actually do as she likes. But when it comes to land, they have to marginalize these women. And notwithstanding, these women actually contribute greatly, especially in the economic sector of Amokwe. Most of them go into farming, some of them petty trading. And still, the men whose sole agricultural activities are just palm wine tapping, and then few of them who has white collar jobs. And on this note, I gathered some few oral interviews with some men from Amokwe, women, widows, and an unmarried spinster who has actually been inflicted with these cultural practices. Looking at the life of Mr. Nze Anekali, he is one of the chief in council in Amokwe Uzi. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Oh, all right. Thank you, ma. Okay, talking about Mr. Nze Anekali, with an interview I had with him, he's among the elders in council of the chief cabinet of the Igwe cabinet in Amokwe Udi. So when I spoke to him concerning this land ownership and discrimination among women and what he has to say, he said that in Amokwe, the lands are not being given to women, except the one which is being given to the woman as a gift by your father. And it's called Oke Nayeroye, meaning a share of gift given to you by your father. And it's actually not an inheritance. It's just that maybe you're your father's beloved daughter and he decided to give you the land as, oh, my love for my daughter. And then he said that a woman in Amokwe does not have right to own land, even if you've been cultivating on such land. As long as you're married, you don't have right to own land, except in your husband's place. Then going on with the second person I interviewed, Mr. Ene, he also said that women in Amokwe Uji, one of the reasons why they don't give them land, it's because that if they are given lands from their father's ancestral home and they move into their husband's home, it means a double portion of land has been given to them, making the men to be cheated out of this particular tradition. And because they don't want to feel less of themselves by giving too much power to the woman, thereby giving them land from both their father and husband's home, he said that he will not encourage that women should be given land. Then when I examined the life of a widow, Mrs. Esther Ago, a 78-year-old widow who actually explained her ordeal with this custom, said that when she got married to her husband, she was farming on a particular land with 8 kids. So at the demise of the husband, the land was collected from her, though she has male child. So you can see that this land ownership is not just about not having a male successor in Amokwe. You might have a male successor, and yet, probably because they are still tender, the wicked uncles, as we always call them, will have access to collecting your land and you're left without anything. So she narrated bitterly how this unhealthy cultural practice has really dealt with her at the demise of her husband, as she had nothing coming from her father's house and entering another home. She has also nothing. Then the life of Miss Amaka Winifred. She's a young spinster. She said that she had a son outside wedlock. So as she got married, her only surviving brother passed away. And she expected that the son, which was born at home, should take over the father's lineage so that he will be able to get land during land division. But unfortunately, Amokwe people refused to give her land, neither give her son land. In quotes, he's not a legitimate son of the soil. And that was why her son was denied land. Then we went further to examine the life of Walter Aneke Oku. He's a senior lecturer in UNIZIK. He said that even till date, that these cultural practices of women being denied land has been ongoing, and he doesn't think that there is any measure currently in place to abolish this particular incident and give rights to women to own land. And that really left me thinking about a whole lot of things, because I'm coming from Amokwe, and I also know what this land ownership is also doing in my family. And I think that a time has come when these cultural practices that doesn't favor women in land inheritance. As we all know, women actually contribute 60% of economic activities in Nigeria, not just in Amokwe Udi. So I think a time has come where women should be given rights to own land. There should be laws that should encourage women to own land, whether they are married or unmarried. And then fathers, I think the sensitization should start with fathers trying to give land to their daughters, regardless of having a male son or not. And these cultural practices of land ownership has really affected a whole lot of families, especially those who doesn't have a male son. So you can imagine in a situation where a family has a son, and yet these cultural practices are being melted on them because their father is no more and the sons are still tender. So imagine what would happen to someone who doesn't have a son. They go as far as adopting a son outside so that he will be able to replace the father's name and own the lands that will be given when division of inheritance comes. And then I would also say that brothers that actually pursue their brother's wife away at his demise, they should be brought to book, because these women are being left to suffer. Economically, they have nothing to depend on. And even if they go back to their father's house, most times they have to have issues with their brother's wife and places to farm, which isn't really a good one. So this land ownership has really taken a very big turn on the lives of women in Amokwe Udi. And I would be very happy if our men will be able to change this particular cultural practices so that women will have rights to own inheritances in their father's home, whether they are married or unmarried. And finally, I think fathers should also treat their kids equally, especially in this land ownership thing, equally in the sense that if you don't have a male son, it's better you give your inheritance to your female. Besides, the Bible said it, I think Numbers 27:8, it says something on if a man doesn't have a son, he should give his inheritance to his daughter. So I don't know the reason why men in Amokwe Udi keep on with these cultural practices that they won't allow the women have land, and it's really something to look into. I hope with this pre-stage that you'll be able to take in a little bit from my paper that I'm still writing, that I'm not yet done, on this particular cultural practices in Amokwe Udi. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that presentation as well. It's very interesting to note. As a historian, for me, it's interesting to trace back some of these traditions and these ways of thinking, especially when we're talking about gender, and see exactly where this came from. I mean, has it always been there? since ancient times, since pre-colonial times? Has the colonial era exacerbated any of the inequalities or patriarchy of that period and had something to do with the situation as it exists today? So those are always interesting questions. So thank you so much for that presentation. So we'll save our questions. I see your hand, but we'll save our questions and our comments for the last about 25 minutes. But I want to get to Reverend Igwe. Are you there, Reverend Igwe?
I was going to tell you that maybe Reverend Igwe will not get in through the Zoom that is meant for us as panelists. Maybe he used the general Zoom. So I think you should tell him that he should use the Zoom that is meant for the panelists.
That's what I was thinking.
Because we too cannot see him.
Yeah. So Reverend Igwe, if you're still there, there's an email that I sent to you. I can resend it and you can use that link. Again. You should use that link to get on. So let me resend that email to you.
Mm-hmm.
So you should have the email now. And so while you're logging on, while you're trying to join us, in the interest of time, we're just going to move to our next presenter, Okafor Sochima. So we'll allow you to go, and then Reverend Igwe, when you join, you'll go after. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Everyday life in Africa, past and present. Good evening, everyone. I'll be presenting a paper titled Female Deities, Male Priests, Revisiting the Spiritual Male Patriarch in Igbo Selected Communities. In African traditional religion, Igbo society is rooted in the belief in supreme being, or the head god, as most literature will refer to. That's what we refer to as Chukwu Okike. And this supreme being is believed to be the creator of different or several other gods or goddesses that exist in Igbo land. Now, these other deities or divinities, as we call them, they are seen as messengers between the supreme being, that's Chukwu Okike, the god that creates, between the supreme being and man. We see them as functionaries. We see them as mediators between the supreme being and man. Now, in the existence of these divinities, most of them, such as the Amadioha, that's the god of thunder, Ayahu, and a deity, that's the land goddess or the earth goddess. We have and several other deities in Igbo land. Now, the thrust of this paper is not to take us back to different deities in Igbo land and their functions, no. But the thrust of this paper is that most of the deities or most of the gods in Igbo communities, they are of feminine origin, but their officiators are male, which I captured in the title, Female Deities, Male Priests. Why is it that most of these deities that exist in Igbo communities are being officiated by male? And I'll be discussing this using 3 communities in Igbo land. I'll be using 3 goddesses, yes, 3 goddesses from 3 different communities in Igbo land. One is the Agwazi River Goddess. Agwazi River Goddess is a female deity in Idato, Imo State. This deity is, is believed to be the mother goddess of Idato community. The deity or the mother, she feeds her children, she gives them water through the river. But in as much as this deity is feminine, and of course, she is a mother, the officiator or the person who performs the functionaries, the sacrifices in this in her shrine are men. Why is it that it is not women who are in charge of these duties? Now, it's also believed that this Awazi River, she has her husband. Yes, she has a husband known as Ezokoro from Achina. And each time this Ezokoro from Achina visits her, whenever people visit the stream, or rather people don't visit the stream whenever this Ezokoro visits her, because it is seen as the sacred or the holy day. And even in most cases, when women, other priestess in the goddess, they are performed duties, simple duties such as settling marriage cases, settling disputes. But the main duty of pouring libation, the main duty of sacrifice, the main duty of functionaries' duties are being performed by male. So that is the consciousness I'm here to raise, that despite this deity being originated from a mother goddess, that's Agwazi River, that it is still male, or it is still a man that officiates it. The same thing goes to the Amuda deity Isuchi. Amuda deity is a female goddess. Yes, she has female divinities, female functionaries, but the main officiator is a man. So you see, there's a kind of some sort of gender imbalance, as we may choose to call it, between in Igbo traditional religion, whereby women, yes, these deities, they are of female origin. And in most cases, when women are to officiate these deities, they have to dress in a man-like nature, or in most cases, talk like men, for them to be qualified or for them to be, official, or for them to fit in to perform such duties. A clear example in Igbo land, we have a masquerade known as Adamma. Now, this Adamma deity or Adamma masquerade, it's a female masquerade. Whenever it appears so beautiful, people admire, take pictures and all that. But one striking, one important thing to note is that in as much as this masquerade appears to be a woman, the person who is carrying the masquerade is a man. Yes, it is a man who is being the Adamma sculpture that is being displayed in public during marriages, during festivals like New Yam festivals and all that. People admire the masquerade as one of the most beautiful masquerade in Igbo land. Yes, it is Adamma. Adamma means a beautiful daughter, a daughter that is decorated with beauty. But why is it that it is men that carry this sculpture to display Adamma in public? So another community that we'll be looking at is the Njaba community in Imo State. Now, in Njaba, they have a goddess known as Eke Njaba, similar to that of Awazi in Imo State. Eke Njaba is a river goddess. It is believed that whoever that kills Eke in Njaba must perform perform a funeral service for the python, irrespective of the fact that it's an animal. And in Njaba, you don't treat the pythons anyhow. When you see a python in your house, all you have to do is to make space for the python to go. Because they believe that even in ancient times, when a woman gives birth in Njaba and a python have not visited, it means that your child, is not welcoming. So, in as much as this Eke Njaba is female goddess, the officiator is a man. So, these are some questions that keep rising, that even not just in Igbo traditional religion, that even in Christianity, that in Catholic Church, for example, women are being reserved for second role. Yes, for second roles like reverend sisters. You never see a female priest. They are reverend sisters in Pentecostal churches. They call them mommy. They only take care of, preach to women or children. They don't go to the stage or to the altar to officiate the masses. So the trust of this work is that despite the origination of most female goddess deities in Igbo land, that they are still being officiated by men. Does it mean that women are not qualified? And when I was in third year, I had a course, African Women in History, where Dr. Mrs. Sinkosi Kobiani, she exposed us to some, unjust treatment, inequalities meted down on female folk. She mentioned that in most cases, like in Islamic religion, that women are not allowed to, just like the hijab, they cover them when they are coming out. They don't even come out, and they are not allowed to be seen in social gathering. They're not allowed to participate, and not just in religion, even in the cooperative world, they're kind of being a kind of marginalization, or their duties or their power. The power of a woman is regulated to the background, because we live in a society where I come for an interview as a man, and a woman also come for an interview, and I am being preferred, or even in political positions, I am being preferred because I'm a man. Nobody cares about the qualification of the woman. Okay, yes, she has PhD and she should be given, instead of me that have MA. So you see, some sort of gender imbalance, injustice, inequalities is what this paper tried to expose in Igbo traditional religion, bringing it down to the existence of goddesses, some deities in Igbo land that are of female origin, but they are being officiated by men. That even where women are to participate, they are given minor duties. They are not allowed to be in the shrine. They are not allowed to perform the men's sacrifice. The case of Agwazi River, it's and Eken Jaba, they are very, even to date, it's still obtainable. You go to Agwazi River, it's a man that is the officiator, not a woman. So, in as much as the paper is still in process, I hope with this few, presentation, I've read some arguments, and I expect your questions. Thank you.
Thank you again for that. That's extremely interesting. And I think it's a provocative question too. So why is it that even the female deities have mostly male priests? That's a very interesting question. And I'm sure people will also have, even more commentary on that as we get to the question and answer period. So we want to go to Reverend Igwe now. Have you been able to join us? I don't know. I sent the email with the link. So I don't know if you were able, are you still there? So could you please go to your email and check the link that I sent? I sent it to your Gmail. You need to click that link so that you can join on our Zoom, on our end, because I think that right now you're just in the audience. You're not on our Zoom. I can't see you here, so you can't present anything. So please check your Gmail. We'll give you a few minutes to do that and then try to join. And while we're waiting, I think that there was one question that's in the chat that was interesting. It says, a great analytical presentation.
Hello, Doc. I have like 5 questions on my timeline so I don't know if I could attend to my questions now.
Yes, I see. So let's do that. The first question I think was for you. How did you come up with the idea that 80% of international prostitutes in Nigeria are of Benin origin? What informed your statistics? So we'll take that question first.
Okay. For that, international did a research on the numbers of international prostitutes in Europe, that and they found out that most of them, that's 80% of them, are from Benin. So that report is from Amnesty International and IOM. Then the other organizations in Italy also gathers the same reports on international prostitutes from Benin, from Nigeria, that 80% of them that you find in Italy, they are of Benin origin. And being that I have also stayed in Benin, I have lived all my life in Benin, so I know that this is actually true. Though some of the people from Delta claim to be Benin when they interview them, because they grew up in Benin or they came to Benin. Whenever you want to travel from Delta, Bayelsa, all those other states, when you want to travel out, you will come to Benin and get a sponsor. That's where you get an easy sponsor. So because of that, they all now claim Benin. So that also add to the numbers.
Okay, and I think that we have time for another question. I think Matthias wanted to ask the question, but there's no question typed here. Oh, okay, I see the question. Can you give us the specific names of the churches that you use for your methodology techniques in Benin City that are involved in these practices for future correspondence? And then the second part, apart from prophecy, does the church sponsor some of the females to go to Italy in secret? If they do, what were the means by which they did this?
Okay, for the churches I am dealing with, I'm dealing with the new generation Pentecostal churches. So their names are numerous that I cannot give here. And you don't begin to give names of churches, and because of, this is a very sensitive issue. So I just, in my work, I gave examples of different churches and different people that were sponsored, not that they were sponsored directly by the church, no. The ones that I know about sponsors, pastors who are sponsors or traffickers, those pastors are not in Nigeria. They are those that are in Italy. They call themselves pastors or church leaders, but they have girls that work for them on the streets. So because of the people I interviewed that are in Italy, my aunt that is in Spain gave me different examples of pastors who have girls that work for them in the street. That's for those in Italy. But in Nigeria, what I found out in the different churches I visited and the people I interviewed from the churches is that there are programs where I was in a church and I went for a particular church program, and parents of girls that are about to cross the sea were called out, that their children have told them that today they are about to cross the sea, they should come out for prayers. So they have to take out time to pray for them because their daughters were about to cross the sea, so that they'll be able to cross the sea. So, and I've also met a young lady who was told that she was seen in the midst of white people. And that was the reason she left Nigeria to use the Morocco-Libya route with two children to cross the route, because they told her different prophecy from 5 different prophets who had told her that they saw her in Europe. So she began to, when she now got to the place that she was about to cross the sea, the Arab police caught her. Eventually, she was taken to prison. These are some of the people I had interviewed for my work. So I am going to give life histories of these different people because I have a whole lot of primary data to back my work. I'm a historian and I do empirical study. So I use primary sources majorly, which are gotten from oral interviews that I have carried out over the years to be able to book my historical research. So, and apart from prophecy, does the church sponsor some of the females to Italy in secret? For the Nigerian church, I do not know anything about sponsors for them, but I know that they can connect. The Sele prophet can connect you to a sponsor if you know you are looking for a sponsor. I do not know any Sele prophet who is actually a direct sponsor. From what I gathered on the field, there are sometimes the celeb prophets or the cherubim and seraphim prophet were the one that directed the girls to somebody that can help them to move to Italy. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for answering that question. And we also have a hand up. So Ms. Daniels, would you like to ask your question?
Yes, I would like to pass across an observation. Thank you, presenters. I'm grateful for this opportunity to speak. I would like I put in the Q&A here, I would like to pass across an observation on this presentation, female deities, male priests, revisiting the spiritual male patriarch in Igbo selected communities by Soshima Perpetuals Okafor. Yeah. So while listening to him, I got an interesting thought, debate that why is it that even female priests or female deities rather, the feminine deities are performed by men? Now, why is it that they're performed by men? Why is it that they seem to be like a sphere created for women, but are still performed by men? So I would like to put this across that this kind of dynamic is common across, at least I know of Nigeria, I'm a Nigerian, yes. So it's common across Nigeria where you have female or feminine spheres, feminine king deities that is performed by men. What happens is that at that time that the women bodies are carried on by men, what happens is that such men switch identities. They switch roles, they switch being from being a man to a feminine personnel. So they switch identities at that point in time. Why am I saying this? This is entirely not new. When you remember Ife Amadiome's work on is it female daughters or male husbands or female husbands and things like that, you will discover that this is usually a general thing that goes to show that religion, social relations, politics, history in Nigeria is beyond the binaries of sex. It's totally beyond the binaries of sex. So when you are talking about sex is another thing. But when you are talking about power performance in the realm of masculinity, femininity, anybody can transform between the two. So the fact that a man is wearing the clothes, the regalia of a feminine deity does not mean that deity is, masculine. It doesn't mean it's masculine. In fact, many scholars, I can't begin to name them, but from the top of my head, I remember John Tabiti, I remember Yoruke, I remember Roland. I've written a lot of books on it to say that there are seriously male priests that the moment a male priest becomes a priest for a female king or a female deity, whatever, at that point in time, that deity changes the identity of that male person to a female. So there's this institution of wifehood. So the male priest becomes the wife. The male priest becomes the wife of the deity at that time. So the priest no longer retains that identity of masculinity. So I just thought I should put that across. I will put some books or some authors in the chat to further continue this, because I don't want to take more of everyone's time. Thank you.
Yes, I think that that's a really interesting point that you bring up. I do remember that that study, Male Daughters, Female Husbands, and that the gender construction is beyond, some of those constructions that we, deem normative today. Oh, we have Reverend Igwe here. Okay, good. So we'll suspend the Q&A for now, and we'll allow Reverend Igwe time to go ahead and do the presentation. So Reverend Igwe, you have the floor. Are you able to unmute? No, you're muted. Okay.
Hello?
Now you're muted again. Okay.
Can you see me?
No,
Hello?
but you're not. We can hear you, but we can't see you.
Doctor, good evening. The network here is disturbed. I don't know. I was just running here and there. Good evening, doctor. Good evening, everyone.
Good
I'm very
evening.
sorry. I'm very sorry, please. Very sorry. So my name is Igwe Vic Martin from Department of Religious and Cultural Studies, University of Rio. My topic here today is the social religious effects of indecent dressing and fashion in the contemporary society. Indecent dressing and fashion are serious assaults to religious and cultural values, as well as norms of contemporary society. The high moral and sense dignity surrounding dressing and fashion in the contemporary society are vanishing in the name of fashion and modernity. Indecent dressing is a social malady in the society today, especially by the youth. It simply means the exposure, the desperate exposure of one's body to the public. The practice does not mean that that is a cultural desire, cultural dress, but this is what individually decided to put on in the name of fashion. The indecent dressing, because of that, this indecent dressing has common names, and it can be seen in a common place, such as streets, churches, and a social gathering in the church, and also in a small compound like that, even in the higher institution. It is very common there. Now, because of what people can say or what the youth addresses to the person who talks to them, the name given to the person that was able to address them or correct them that being naked in the public is not good. So the common name addressed to the person is that your father's business? Are you the one that bought the dresses for me? God will judge me and not you. Have you corrected your children? So because of that, people find it difficult to correct the youth of today because of the name that is attached to it, and because of the side effect, that is hatred, condemnation, and malice that is attached to it. Indecent dressing has sparked up other defect behavior in the society, especially higher institution of learning. Defect behavior such as rape that constitute a serious affront of societies in many values. Some female students become of the provocative ways of dressing, have one time or the other become victims of rape, lured into prostitution, used for ritual purpose, unable to complete their education or training, and also to engage in different things in the society. Like the male one, they are involved in armed robbery. Some of them cultism. So a lot of things because of the way they are dressing. So this has become it is rampant in our society today, and and especially in the church. Now, what are the causes of this? What is their reasons? Why are they doing this? Now, one, the first thing is to be noticed or seen. They presume that when they are naked, that people can see them easily. Especially, they always do this in a social gathering and religious gathering. Once they are naked like that, if they are in the church, they'll be able to distract the members who are listening to the word of God. In fact, when they are dressing, they would like to expose their nakedness. They would like to expose their bra, their laps, the inner ways that they are wearing, without minding that dress is meant to cover our body for external havoc, for external diseases. Dresses is meant for us to cover what God has given to us, because our body is the temple of God. But these people now will come majestically in the church in order to distract people so that they can be seen and also be noticed. Then secondly, the second reasons of their exposing their body is also lack of home training. A lot of them find it difficult, or parents find it difficult to empower their children at home. They lack that youth empowerment. They lack that training at home. Since there is no youth empowerment at home, no instruction at home, they would like to do whatever that pleases them, that stick or come out from their mind. So those things are also the reasons of them dressing indecently, or dressing like a mad people. Again, another reason is to get life partner. They presume and believe that when they dress like a mad people, or they dress half naked, men will be able to pursue them or go after them, without minding that beauty is not the main thing of marriage. That you don't marry because of beauty, but rather you marry because of character. Your nakedness. Now tell me, what are you going to show us that others do not have? And some men altogether condemn such. Some people does not like that nonsense dressing and appearance. So some men also disown some women, or even their daughters, being dressed like a prostitute. Then another one, another reason for them dressing like that is over modelization. Modelization is the knowledge given to us by God, but we failed to know the advantages and disadvantages of the gift given to us by God, the creator, the beginning, and the source of heaven and earth. So they misuse that gift given to us. They misuse that because thinking that when things are being produced, they can use it and misbehave abnormally like that in the name of dressing, which is not necessary. It's not good in their own perspective, in youth perspective. Then what are the social religious effects of this? Because of indecent dressing, a lot of our guests have died. A lot of them are missing. Now, indecent dressing due to prostitution, sexual harassment, it leads to armed robbery, kidnapping. A lot of them have lost, they have used them for ritual purposes because of the way they dressed, unwanted pregnancy. And some of them were unable to complete their education. That is the social religious effect. And because of that, they don't even value that respect that is needed in the church. You can bear with me that even in the church, even the so-called mothers, the way they dress is nothing to take home about. It's very funny. In fact, when mothers are exposing their breasts, what do you expect the young ones to do? So they have no regard in the church. They have no regard for God. So they behave abnormally, and they don't give God that respect in the name of indecent dressing. So that is a lot of them have lost their life because of the way they dress. Then what are we going to do to stop this? The first one, religious institutions should also educate or preach against indecent dressing in the church. Leaders should preach, and in fact, for me, I may say that whosoever that did not dress properly, decently, should be walked away, sent away from the church. Pastors, priests should stick on it that it is not good for a woman, a man, to dress abnormally anyhow in the presence of God. Secondly, home training. Parents, especially mothers, should do their work. Mothers are not doing their responsibility. They are not teaching their children what to do. In fact, when they are going to buy clothes for their children, you see the type of sometimes they use party wears to church activities. Everything has its own dresses. Sport, you cannot use sports wear to church. You cannot use party wear to church. So those things are what parents are supposed to teach their children. And if they are buying those things for them, they should buy them decent wears and teach them this is what you're supposed to do wear, and this is not what you're supposed to wear. When they are wearing it, you should know the dress should be at least above their knees and also cover their breast and so on, because what they are going to expose to us is unnecessarily. We don't need them. Again, media, we can talk to all these actors and actresses. In fact, these young girls are also imitating from them. It is what they saw that they are displaying outside. Parents should stick and monitor their children or the type of film and video they watch, newspapers and so on, because they are learning from all those things. Then empowerment, summer seminars, and also retreat. Government, religious leaders should also organize seminars, retreat for our youth, at least once or twice or a month, at least to tell them the advantages and disadvantages of indecent dressing, to modify them, to enlighten them and tell them the implication attached in indecent dressing in our society, and also so that they will be useful in future and they will be useful for their own good, not for us. We are saying it just to not to disgrace them, but for them to be useful in the society. Finally, I say that men taking this topic and writing them, they have realized the effect, the social religious effect attached to indecent dressing in our society. For instance, you can see now, because of indecent dressing, the young ones can lose their life. Also, it can lead them to prostitution, sexual harassment, and armed robbery, and so on. This is the social religious, and also disobeying the God who created them by using or being naked in the church in order to divert or distract the members of the congregation or the church listening to the word of God. Therefore, when they dress that half nakedly, it will be able to distract the members, and all their heart and mind will also focus on their dirty body. They think that nobody has such beauty, forgotten that the beautiful ones are not yet born. Again, finally, religious leaders should not divert from the word of God to look onward things. They should stand and stick and preach the word of God to them. They should stand and condemn them physically without fear or minding. They should stand and also speak and tell them that even our forefathers, when they Abraham and Adam and Eve, when they realized that they have eaten the fruit that God asked them to eat, that is the history of this indecent dressing. When they realized that God now opened their eyes, they then realized that they are naked. They now went around to look for leaf to cover themselves. They did not allow themselves to be seen like that, but they went and covered it. So this is one of the things that we need to teach and preach to these children. Not that tomorrow they say lecturers are interested on them, this person are interested on them, this and that, this and that. Even such a thing have also bring a problem to married people because of the way they dress. Finally, they should know that indecent dressing denotes or demeans the personality of the wearer. They should know also that whatever you are, it tells your family background, and also that indecent dressing can lead you to the end of your life. That is not what will take you or make you to be what you are in future, but also can destroy your life both now and forever. Therefore, parents, teachers, and the government also should help us to educate, enlighten, and bring to the understanding of this our youth that to be naked will not even assist us. Even universities to stick and note that, and if they should, like in Abia State University, you cannot go there half naked. They have their procedures, they have their uniform, they have their mode of dressing. So other universities should also apply for them, and make sure that our children are captured now that they are young, and make sure that whatever that we are saying today will not go in vain. So I am so happy to address this issue today with us. Thank you so much for listening, and God bless you. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate that, and I'm sure that we'll have a lot of comments and a good conversation coming up. So now we're going to move into the Q&A. So here we have some questions already listed in the Q&A. So we're going to take a couple of those, and then we'll come back to you with your hand raised. So this question is from an anonymous attendee. This is fascinating for people studying outside Nigeria and are not as familiar with the cities mentioned in your research. Can you write the name of the cities and the river goddesses? So Oshun is easy. The others are a little bit more difficult. So maybe if you can name some of those or put it in the chat, that would help.
Okay, I will put it in the chat. The Olokun goddess, I'll put it in the chat right away.
Okay. And then we have a question for Ms. Eneke. So how can you reconcile the techniques of Onitsha women in history that are not deprived of their rightful status in the society, as in Amokweudi, where women are doomed to perpetual degradation, as you narrated? So how do the Onitsha women and their history and their rightful status in society compare to the Amokweudi women?
Okay, thank you so much for the question. You know, first, you can't compare Onitsha society to that of Amokwe society because one, Onitsha in Nigeria is known as a very big city where a whole lot of economic activities take place. And not just that, they have been able to produce prominent women over the years. And, you know, with these women, most of them backing them, or even if they are not backing them, most of their men will not be able to, you know, continue putting out this particular land, this inheritance towards the women. And Onitsha people, from the little I know about them, politically and economically, they are quite strong, both the women and the men. And even for a widow in Onitsha who isn't up and doing, or who has been, you know, this who hasn't been given land or has this land issue, I don't know how to put it, but then they always have a way of their kids, their sons doing exceedingly well in future, and, you know, coming back to take over those lands that their uncles have taken away from them. But in Amokwe, the case is actually different because these people, I won't really say they are still backward so much, but yes, they are, because most of them dwell mostly on agriculture. Most of them, our girls doesn't go to school. Most of us, our mothers didn't go to school. So it's like women who are married from outside Amokwe coming into Amokwe, and they're like, no, they can't take up this particular act. Like from my own family, on a personal experience, my mother is coming from a different local government that is not my father's local government. And this land ownership issue is being melted on us. So because she's coming from a place where she knows that her own side, she can fight for land there, she's actually now coming to fight for this particular land in her own husband's house. And it's like she's one out of, 70 trying to fight for this, unlike the Onitsha women who are very much active politically. The Amokwe women are not active as much as the Onitsha people. They are not so much enlightened and educated. So I could tell you that the Onitsha society, their women has an upper hand towards this land ownership, unlike the Amokwe women who has nothing or who can't just withstand this particular law. And so the economic implication on them is so much compared to that of Onitsha society. I don't know if I've been able to convince you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. It's always a very complex, answer to those kinds of questions. Why is it that one society does this and another society does that? But again, for me as a historian, I'm always wondering about that. Especially, I'm always wondering about how history and the history of the region and how the experiences of the cultures in that region over time have shaped their practices. There are different reasons and different experiences why these cultures may have such different practices, even though they might not be that far away from one another. And I know that when you mentioned that in this particular area that the women, were not as educated, they didn't go to, the mothers didn't go to school, the daughters weren't going to school. I know that that was something that was definitely solidified in the colonial era. So it's really interesting to look back. I would encourage everybody, here that's doing research on these different areas and cultures to, just try to see if there is a historical root, to the problem. In the history of this ethnic group, for example, was there something that happened at a particular point that made people move, to a certain action or not? That's always interesting, for me, to look back and see that. So thank you for that answer. We have another question from a raised hand here. So Ms. Daniels, if you want to ask your question.
Okay, thank you. I'm not sure I'm going to ask you a question, just an observation to say that. Given the fact that I'm a Nigerian, I'm saying that again, I'm a Yoruba woman, I know, at least I know Yoruba, I know Nigeria to an extent, living there for many decades. I would like to make an observation that, especially concerning what the last speaker just said, that indecent dressing is a matter of context, is a matter of place, is a matter of audience, is a matter of people or culture or how you say it. Why do I say that? I say that because looking back at the pre-20th century, or what we usually call pre-colonial history of societies in Africa generally, you will discover that what we see as indecent dressing in contemporary society then was actually a kind of life, a kind of dressing, is a kind of being that was not pathologized or criminalized by anybody. But again, you could pick up, you could have that kind of conversation with some people, with some organizations, but it's raising some questions that I kind of find it a bit too, should I say a kind, propelled a bit to, raise observations about, because looking at current, even current contemporary female things and oloris, that is coins in Yoruba land, you will discover that they go around, like in Akure now, Akure in Yoruba, southwest of Nigeria, they go around using, they have just wrapper, they are almost half of their breast is beard, and they walk around like that. So nobody dares tells them that you are dressed indecently, so you could be raped, or you could be, anything could be done to you. I think it's a matter of context. And I believe some people could, not everybody could be seen as dressing indecent, because some people are kind of, should I say, maybe forgiven. So I would like to say that it's a matter of context, it's a matter of people, it's a matter of place. There is a little we can generalize about indecent dressing, and we should also take note of our history, that many of these things we see as religious, as piety, is more like Western civilization, Victorian civilization, that have been taken in as African, and that is forced on African peoples, and we should learn to delimit borders of African cultures, African dressing, African humanity, of respecting humans as who they are, as what they are, and as people who must not be violated, whether naked or not. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate that comment. It's always important to put things into context. And so we have another question. Excuse me. I don't know if you wanted to respond at all, Reverend Igwe.
Yes, I am. I'm here.
Okay. Did you want to respond to that
No,
comment?
I am taking note of what he said.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
okay.
Yes, yes.
So there's another question here. Why are so many of these international prostitutes from the Benin area in particular? Any specific research into this?
That has a long historical background. It's like you are calling me to drag another paper out. It has a long historical background. We drag it from the colonial period to the post-colonial period, from 1970 when the Dumais Company came to Benin, that was run by Italians, and they began to marry some Benin women and take them to Italy. And from there, the Benin women began to also invite their siblings to Italy. And over there in Italy, there is a historical record that said that I'll just say something brief about it because it's quite long. So I will. So there are records that says that at that point, there were more men in Italy than women. That's Italians. So when the Italians saw Benin girls that were working at the tomatoes farm, in particular plantations, and they offered them some particular money to have sex with them, and the girls agreed to it. So the girls actually found out that the men were a lot interested in them, and it was more, you had more money with dating Italian men, different one who are not serious, they just want to have sex with you, and you are making more money than even the tomatoes plantation work. So several of them withdrew from there and began this thing. So they were the first set of people that were called Italos. So they came back home and said, there's something good, because you know Benin is a community where family bond is very strong. So when you find a space where you find money, you pick another person from your family to also remove that other part from poverty. So that's how they were moving from their siblings. Oh yeah, you come over, there's a job here, and they get there, they introduce them into prostitution from the 1980s. So then it began to fit us into the Benin society that, oh, there is something available in Italy. That was how the older women who had made money now began to bring more younger women to Italy. So that was how the business started. Little, it now became a business of an organized trafficking stuff. So from the 1989, by the early 90s, it was already settled. From the 1990s, the first set that went, that's 1970 to 1980, most of them that went there, they didn't plan to go and do prostitution. Some of the women just went to do business. So their money was not enough. So they found out that Italian men were interested in them to have sex with them and make some money. So they did it for money's sake and came back home and closed their mouth about it. So from that 1990, there was a new set of girls that were being moved from Benin to Italy. And from that stage, people began to be aware that when you go there, the Iwina that you do, because in Benin, I grew up in Benin at that stage, I was even offered the opportunity to go to Italy, that the Iwina that you do there, they will say, we marry winner, that's marry winner, we marry winner. That's when we were going to work in the evening. So that work was actually a night job. It was already established at that point. So, and at that point, a lot of people now got into the business, because those girls that first went and paid madam, they also were now recruiting other girls. So it now became more easy for you to go to Italy from Benin. That is why you now see that people from other states that are close to Edo State were also affected. If you want to go to Italy, you just cross over to Benin. You go to even up to now, just go to Opaso number, ask somebody that, is there anybody that is taking somebody through the leg, and all that, you want to pass through Morocco, Libya route, they will just direct you. It's so simple. They will say, okay, so person, they said the river is clear now, you can cross the river now. Okay, the river is not clear now, the road is not clear now. So that is how it now became like a normal thing. It started, it at its root in the 1970 and escalated in the 1980 as a result of the economic crisis that came up to Nigeria. So it has a long historical root. So let me just leave it here there. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much for that answer. That did take, a little bit of context to understand, but I think that, I really appreciate the in-depth, study that you've done to be able to trace this back. It's very interesting work that you're doing. Thank you for that. So we have just a few more minutes. So there was one other question here. It says, beautiful presentation, Mr. Okafor. What is the place of gender fluidity in your study? Oh, you're on mute. I think you're muted.
Oh, so sorry for that. I didn't realize. So I said that in as much as these deities are feminine, they are feminine originated, but they are being officiated by male. Because I mentioned the Isochi deity, that's the Amuda in Isochi. I said that yes, in this deity, the deity has women that perform some functionary duties like praying, settling disputes, and all that. But before they could do that, they have to appear like men. They wear a priestly regalia. They don't dress like women. They wear priestly regalia for them to come out to officiate or to perform such duties. So you see, there are kind of gender switch of gender, and you see the Adam that I referenced. Yes, it's a female master, but before it comes out or in public, it is a man that will still wear that sculpture, a beautiful one at that, and come out to display. Thank you.
All right, and then just in our last few minutes, there's a couple of questions for you, Reverend Igwe. And so one of the questions is concerning the indecent dressing, is it not promoting stereotypes to say that people who dress provocatively are prostitutes? What is the role of body positivity and self-expression in connection to indecent dressing? And the last question that we'll take is, I would like to ask the presenter how she arrived at her conclusion on why these girls dress indecently.
Thank you, Doctor. Yeah, not everybody that dresses indecently are new to prostitution. No, but a prostitute, the way they dress. When they're dressing, they don't even feel or dress like a human being. That is why I said when they dress indecently by exposing their body, because exposing their body, their nakedness, their bra that they're supposed to cover up. But those doing prostitution, most of the time they are always naked. They like being naked, so that because that is the nature of their work. So I did not mean that anybody who dressed half nakedly or who dress indecently are related to a prostitution. No, I didn't say so. But sometimes it linked to that because of the way you dress. Remember that the way you dress denotes what you are. If you're a doctor, you dress like a doctor. If you're a so that is why that's the more reason why those prostitute people, they have taken that dimension. We should not dress like them. So whenever we have to exclude ourselves from them. So I didn't mean that person who dress abnormally lure to prostitution. No, the difference are there. So that is what I meant in that dimension. Please, can I see that? Can I hear the second question?
Yes, they wanted to know, how did you arrive at your conclusion as to why, the reason why these girls dress indecently?
Yes, I said to be seen and noticed. One, lack of home training. Then secondly, thirdly, to get life partner. And fourthly, over-modelization. That is the causes of indecent dressing. I hope I'm clear for that.
Go ahead.
Yes. So,
Yes.
yeah, and finally, and I said that in order
Reverend.
Oh no.
Reverend.
Yeah, Izingbe had a question.
Reverend.
Go ahead. I'm hearing you.
Can you hear me, Reverend?
Go ahead. I'm hearing you.
I would like to speak a little bit. Okay, I would like to speak a little bit to your pattern of presentation of the work and everything. It is a beautiful work, but I think you should take it more academical than being personal about it. In history, they teach us about objectivity in history. You brought your reverend personality, your religious personality to address the indecent dressing with so much passion, and there's a whole lot of emotion. There's no more objectivity. It's just, you're just talking as you were to us as if you were preaching message to us to start dressing properly, you know. So I think I want to encourage dear sister that in another presentation, when you are working, you are doing the work properly, you should be able to first and foremost look at what people have said concerning this issue, that's scholars in the past and in the present, and look at it holistically, then remove your religious belief from it. Except you are writing it based on total religion, on that, then it will be more of a just to be published by the Catholic Church or by the Anglican Church, and not for an academic discourse. So that is my observation concerning you. Thank you for your passion, a beautiful work. Lots of love.
Yes, thank you so much for all of our presenters. We appreciate this, and also you've done well with the question and answers. I really love the research that you're doing. It's very necessary. We need to look more in depth into gender issues. No matter what we see on the surface, we always need to ask deeper questions, and your research is allowing us to do that. So thank you again for all the panelists and for all of our viewers, our audience, and for all of you who asked questions. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And that is it for us today.
Thank you, Doctor. God bless you. We appreciate. Thank you so much. Okay.